Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, coming to you 6 days a week as we interview whitetail experts and hear their traditions and personal stories of the hunt. Learn more about the latest gear, discover proven tips, and the latest strategies so you can make your next hunt a success. Now here's your host, Bruce Hutchin.
Welcome to Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast with your host, Bruce Hutchin, episode number 177. On today's show, you'll hear from Wicked Tree's owner, John Mulligan, about how to create quiet trails and create shooting lanes so you can get to your stand without spooking that big buck. Hey, listeners, don't forget to text 33444 Food Plot for your free Food Plot ebook. Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. This is your host, Bruce Hutchin, and we're going to talk to Johnny Utah today. Now, if you don't know about that, go watch Point Break. Anyway, John Mulligan just loves that nickname, and one of his buddies gave it to him. John's a vice president, husband, dad, Wicked Tree Gear, and White Knuckle Productions. John, or Johnny Utah, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Hey, just share with the listeners from all over North America how you got that nickname. I thought that was kind of cute and a warm-up, so let's talk about that.
Yeah, so it seems like everybody ends up with a nickname at some point. I mean, we nickname our deer half the time, so why not nickname each other? And my business partner at Wicked Tree Gear, Todd, one night we were at one of the trade shows, and we're both just exhausted, been on our feet all day. And I walked across the room or something, and he was trying to get my attention. And I guess he was saying John, and I didn't hear him, but he ends up yelling out something about Johnny Utah. And right off the bat, I remember the movie, Point Break, and I turned around and he goes, there it is. He's like, Keanu Reeves was an undercover cop in that movie, and well, your name's John. And, at that time I was still a police officer. So he says, there you go, Johnny Utah. So the name kind of stuck. And I get legal documents sometimes emailed to me, hey, Mr. Utah, I have a question for you. And I've had people come up before and they call me Utah. So yeah, the name it just kind of stuck, and we just kind of went with it,
That's awesome, because my whole family surfs, and we have for a long time, and we actually surfed some of the breaks that they show in the film, and so that's a kick, and that gives me a lot of energy about having you on the show today.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've never surfed. I've never been to the state of Utah, but so nonetheless,
there you go. Hey, let's let the listeners know what the heck Wicked Tree Gear is all about.
So basically, Wicked Tree Gear is a company that was set up for to kind of fill the void, to come out with the toughest, the lightest, the most durable handsaws and telescoping pole saws that anybody can buy. It works really, really well for hunters because we're always concerned about weight and size and things like that, getting in and out of the timber. So many guys do run and gun setups, and your only option is to take a 12 or 14 foot pole saw with you. We have a 15-foot pole saw that collapses to 42 inches. So it makes it really, really cool. Even the landscapers, they can put it behind the seat of their truck. They can put it in their toolbox and things like that, and it's out of the way. So there's a lot of crossover stuff, but the products stand, they kind of stand on their own. They're just tough as nails. And that's kind of our push, in the industry. And that's what we set out to do. And so it's every day it's a grind. You're trying to build more distributorships and dealerships and things like that and getting the name out. We do a lot of trade shows. Todd and I go to all the consumer shows. We feel that it's really important, to have that one-on-one contact. And plus it gives us a chance to get that feedback. And, it's hard to put a price on that. And you hear people say, well, what about this? What about that? Or, hey, this is awesome. We love that you guys did this, and your blades are sharp. And it kind of gives you that energy. It kind of reminds you why you're getting up every day and you're grinding at it, trying to grow the business.
And thanks for that. And a good friend who's one of the first guests we had, Bill Winke from Midwest Whitetails,
Yes,
he endorses your product.
Yes.
And I don't know how well you know Bill. I just know him from my show and from the industry. Mm-hmm. But he does a great job, with his program and everything. And when I was doing the background on the show, I go, whoa, if Bill thinks it's pretty good, it's probably pretty good. So folks, there's a freebie. And hey, let's let the people know how to get a hold of you, where your gear can be found.
WickedTreeGear.com is our website, and you can check out all the products. We have product videos, specs and weights and everything like that. And then also we have our dealers and distributors set up. I mean, Cabela's, Bass Pro, Field and Stream. And then you've got on the landscape side, the AM Leonards and the Cheryl Trees and the the Bishop companies. And I could go on and on and on, and I always feel bad that I'm leaving people out. But we've got an awesome team of distributors and dealers and reps that are out there hustling for us every day, and we couldn't do it without them. But on our website, that's the best place to go as far as shopping to see what it is you want. And then also on our business cards, Todd and myself, something that we've kind of made a commitment on with the customer service is my personal cell phone is on my business card, and that's the only number that's on my business card. So we field customer calls in all different time zones. I mean, right now I'm currently in Kentucky. Here in about 4 weeks, I'm actually moving to Southeast Iowa, but I'll get guys from California that it's 9 p.m. their time, and then here it is, 1 o'clock in the morning my time, and I get up, answer the phone, answer their questions, and then of course they end up finding out, wait a second, I called an 859 number. You're in Kentucky? They're like, man, I'm so sorry I woke you up. I'm like, hey, that's what we do, and it's not a marketing scam, I mean, it's genuine for us that we want to be in contact with our customers, and we feel like customer service is where a lot of companies can kind of make or break, and if you stand behind the product and you believe in the product, it's really not a hard job,
Yeah. Social media, are you up on social media channels?
Yes, we are. We have a Facebook page and we have an Instagram page, which is wicked_tree_gear. And then our Facebook page is just simply Wicked Tree Gear.
All right. Well, thanks for that. And folks, if you need the tools, we're going to be talking about the application of the tools. We're going to roll right into that right now. But give these guys a shout. They're real guys, real people who've got a small business that, just like us at Whitetail Rendezvous, we're growing and we're looking to help other people grow just by getting out and getting information out throughout North America. So having said that, let's talk about the proper gear that guys need to get the shooting lanes, to get everything cleared out, hinge trees, or whatever they're going to do, and how your equipment meets that.
Well, I think that's something that it seems like there's starting to be a little bit of an evolution in the industry. Guys are going more towards quality gear. And I think there was a time period in hunting where there were some gimmick, companies or gimmick products that came out. And sure, they might have worked for somebody, but it seems like the consumer is starting to be maybe a little more frugal, or, and they shop around and guys want to buy something that's going to last. And that's kind of our niche in the market. I mean, I can't compete with a $7 handsaw, but what I do offer is it's not a plastic handle. It's been quality checked. Every single handsaw that leaves our shop is quality checked. So I think quality is kind of the big thing that we start to see with consumers and people are experiencing. And, we'll ask the question, would you buy a $50 bow because you just spent $1,000 on your bow? Why'd you do that? Well, the $50 one may not perform, to my standards. Well, you should expect that same kind of quality for all your gear that you take out there. So I think that's the key, kind of the key ingredient, is we focus on that quality stuff, and it goes to everything. I mean, has anybody ever said, well, I don't really want to use the best seed that's out there. I want to use a subpar seed. And that's kind of the thing. And I get it. Sometimes guys, will buy on what their budget will allow for, and that's fine. There's certain things that I want out of life that I know I can't afford. And so you do the best you can. And I think that's the key. Is I'll tell everybody all the time, try to buy the best that will fit your budget. We're not asking for anybody to go poor trying to buy a new bow or buy a new trail camera, but buy what you can afford and try to do your research and make sure it's a quality piece.
Now, how does that go over to the camo? I know the price point's important, but if you go on eBay, that I get all my stuff. I'm a scent blocker fan that I pay for. I'm not supported by any company, so I go out and get scent blocker, and I get it on eBay, and I get last year's stuff.
Sure.
For about 50% and sometimes better than that. So, folks, the reason I bring that up, you can get good gear, but you just have to figure out how to do it and why to do it. And when you talk about proper gear in your notes, you said camo, tools, and nutrition. So let's spend a little more time on the camo and the nutrition about proper gear.
So I'm actually a Sitka whitetail ambassador, and a lot of my buddies say, oh man, same kind of deal. The gear is, their camo, the clothing is so expensive. And having worn their camo this past summer and this past fall, it's quality gear that lasts forever. And just in the way the stitching is and the fit and things like that. Same thing with food plots. You want to go with that quality seed. We use all Tecumani seed, and they're actually been in business a long time. There's a lot of research behind it. There's doctors, that are behind it. Same thing with nutrition. I'm kind of a hobbyist as far as nutrition and weightlifting and exercising and things like that. And I use all Mountain Ops products, and they've got really, really high standards and good quality stuff. So, when I was a kid, I guess maybe some of the glitter might have caught my eye and might have influenced me on what products to buy. And, now at 38 years old, I do more research on my stuff and I really, really shop around and I always want to use the best stuff that I can afford and the best stuff that's out there.
Thanks for that. I had Jeremy Kerber on yesterday, Fit to Hunt, and he's all about, fitness. What does fitness mean to you from the nutrition side and the ability to hunt as long and as hard as you want to?
Well, it's no secret. We're all getting up early in the morning, and it's a whole lot easier to get up out of bed and chase those turkeys or chase those deer. If you're in shape and you're not dragging all the time. So fitness is something that's always been really important to me. I think I was probably 14 years old the first time I walked into the gym, and when I'm living that lifestyle, I'm more alert. I have more energy. I think my mood's even probably better. I'm a little happier person all around to be around and to deal with. But nutrition and exercise, kind of goes hand in hand. But let's be real. Like when I was a police officer working swing shifts and graveyard shifts and things like that, and then you might clock out at 7 a.m. and then have to get up and go to court at 8:30 in the morning. So you got an hour and a half of sleep. And with Wicked Tree Gear, Todd and I building that, we were both wearing 20, 30, 40 hats a day, sometimes. And then also with White Knuckle Productions, filming our hunts and doing food plots and things like that. We're talking 3-4 jobs at any given time, and energy levels could definitely be depleted. But with having, a good exercise program and having good nutrition and trying to eat right and, get your water in, get your sleep, you just have so much more energy to kind of keep going. And I'll have my buddies that'll ask me, they're like, dude, how is it you just keep, you just go. You're like a daggone Energizer bunny, And I think that's where a lot of that comes from is what I like to think is a good work ethic. But I think more importantly for me, it's, trying to be healthy and, like I said, going to the gym and exercising. It just kind of feeds everything in my life.
And thanks for that. And listeners, if you haven't started some sort of exercise program and nutrition program, get on it.
It's, and also I'll add kind of to that, a lot of people look at exercise and they say, oh man, well, if I'm going to do it, I got to join a gym and I got to go work out 5 days a week. And then I got to eat tuna or chicken or salmon and I got to take all these supplements. That's not what it is. I tell people all the time, eliminate Cokes from your diet, substitute it for water, go for a walk, go for a light jog, do push-ups. There's a lot of things you can do that it doesn't cost any money to get your heart rate up a little bit. And let's be honest, something's better than nothing, right? So I feel better, just by following a good, or I should say a semi-good diet. I don't always stick to it all the time. When you're on the road and your trade show season like we're in right now, we've got one more trade show coming up this weekend in Madison, Wisconsin. And then after that, we get a little break from the trade shows. But you're living out of your car in hotels, hopping around, and you don't always get quite the best meals in the world. But, it is what it is. You make the best out of it.
Thanks for that. Let's roll into a couple of other things that you talked about. You talked about stewardship. What does that mean to you, and how do you bring that out into food plots and mentoring youth?
So, with deer stewardship, it impresses me so much more when I see so many more people getting behind QDMA. When I first started hunting, yeah, sure, you heard of QDMA, but I didn't really see it that much. And technology and social media has definitely helped. I'll just call it a movement, But my whole thing with hunting is I love the sport so much, and I'm so passionate about it that I want to leave it better than I found it. And if it means that I can do food plots and I'm helping, a whitetail herd, if I'm doing minerals or I'm doing water sources and things like that, creating more bedding and habitats, because every day we go outside, we see dozers and we see buildings going up. And I get it. These things are all important for the economy and things for cities to grow. And you build a factory and you just gave a lot of people a lot of jobs that really need those jobs to, to pay their bills and to make ends meet. And that's great. And I'm behind it. But as far as our protected green spaces that we do have, hunting is a privilege. Some people say, well, it's kind of a right. You got your right to bear arms and you got a right to hunt. No, I look at hunting as truly it's a privilege that we should all be very, very thankful for, that we get to go do it. It's fun, right? So anytime I can have a chance to take my kids out and teach them something about hunting, an opportunity to do food plots. I genuinely feel like I am able to give back a little bit to the sport of hunting and mentoring the youth because, like I said, I'm 38. I don't know how many years I got left on this planet, but hopefully I can hunt all the way to the very end. But after I'm gone, it's the people that are 5 years old, 15 years old. I mean, this is the future of the sport, at least in the interim, or in the immediate future. So if we can get those guys to where they're on the same page as that and not just the whole, well, it's brown, it's down, kind of thing. But if we can get people really behind the stewardship programs and the QDMAs and get involved with local chapters, you don't have to go to every meeting, but to get involved and get behind them and help those guys out, they got some really, really good programs out there.
And listeners, it's about giving back to the sport that we spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in. If you hunt multiple states, you're spending thousands of dollars just to hunt, and that isn't even your gear. And I looked at some stats the other day. A friend of mine and I were talking, and $22.9 billion just in hunting. Now, that's all hunting.
Wow.
And that's 11 million people are engaged in that sport. Now, that's the numbers I looked at. You can look at it and see the other numbers. This is a huge industry. You take John and Todd here, that they're building great state-of-the-art, solid, rock-solid Wicked Tree Gear, and to help you do your, get it done, get your harvest down. And so support QDMA, Whitetails Unlimited, the Pope and Young Club, Boone and Crockett, and your other local conservation groups, because it's important. You talk about having fun. How the heck do you have fun when you're sweating and you're setting up stands and it's July, August, and you're sweating and you're using your saws, to cut shooting lanes, to hinge trees, to, clear some areas. You might be clearing a new food plot by hand.
That's it. Yeah. And we've done it.
I mean, and you're sweating, dude.
Yeah, we've done it. And that, and ironically, that's a lot of my exercise in the summer is just getting out and hanging stands and clearing, like you said, clearing shooting lanes and trying to clear pathways into the, into your stands. So, you're quiet and you're not leaving scent behind as much as possible and stuff. But, we've all been there in that situation where it's getting late in the season and you're looking at your notes and your field journal, if you keep one, and you're saying, man, I've been out here like 40, 45 days on the stand or something, or maybe even more. And you might still be holding that coveted buck tag, still in your pack. And then you have that morning where you wake up and you're like, oh boy, I'm really tired. I don't know if I feel like it. So, always remembering to have fun. For me, it's about the hunt. It's not about the kill. Now, if anybody listening says, oh, whatever, it's about the kill. No, that is. I mean, that's the kind of the cherry on top. But the thrill of the chase, everything that goes into it is all leading up to that moment, and it's all fun along the way. Getting together with your buddies, or if you have a guy that runs a camera for you, and that interaction, once it happens and it's done, it's done. You can't go back. So that's kind of what I meant by, always having fun and enjoy the moment, enjoy what you're doing. Don't get so wrapped up in rack size. You can watch any television show you want, and you might see somebody kill 180, 190 inch deer. That's not real. You know what I mean? Like, yes, there are deer out there that do that, and guys do, harvest those animals, every year. But for the general public, there's things that always come into play in that. It's the right place, right time. It's the right property. Maybe that guy did do some excellent deer stewardship, and he created bedding areas and minerals and food plots and stayed out of there and allowed those deer to get mature. But not, I guess what I'm trying to say is not everybody can just go right out there every season and take a 180 inch deer. Wouldn't that be awesome if we could? But it's just not real world. So keeping it all in perspective, and a trophy is in the eyes of the beholder. So if a 130 inch deer is a trophy to this guy, and that's a big 4-year-old, 5-year-old mature buck in his state or his county, by all means, take it and be proud of it. Show it to everybody. If there is a 180 inch deer in your area and you pass a bunch of 160s because there's a 180 that's living nearby, and that's your thing, by all means, hold out and wait for that that trophy. But don't let anybody ever tell you what's a trophy and what's not a trophy. I love working some of these trade shows, and guys will come up to you and they're just as proud over their spike buck that they harvested, and they said, look, this is my first buck I ever killed. I know it's not a really big deer, and I'm like, tell me about the hunt. And then you see him light up and he's getting to tell his story. And you truly realize that's his trophy, and that's awesome. And I get just as tickled hearing about a story about that as I do somebody else who's maybe somebody who's killed, 30 or 40, 180-inch deer.
Let's spin that around a little bit. Create a fun hunt for use. What recommendations do you have for the guys and gals out there about making a fun hunt for you?
The youth can be hard because depending on the age, kind of like what I was saying, depending on what influence they might have already had, if they've been watching some of the hunting shows on TV and then so they think, hey, I'm going to go kill a 180-inch deer. So they might have a little bit of letdown when it doesn't happen. So it can be a little tougher. But with the really young kids, I think the positive encouragement, and I can kind of speak from an example with my two sons. Sure, they see me come home in the fall and I harvested an animal or something like that. But they, I always teach them every time. If I come home empty-handed, they're like, you didn't see anything? I'm like, no. I'm like, sometimes you don't see anything. I took my son on a hunt this past fall, and within the first 45 minutes, we had 3 different bucks that came within 40 yards of our box blind. Now, my son may be a little spoiled because I said, I tapped him on the shoulder. I said, what about that one? Nah, I'm going to hold out for something bigger. So of course we get home and he's like, well, we only saw 3 bucks. I'm like, we were only out there for 2 hours. I'm like, you know what? I'll take those odds every time I went in the woods, but I said, why didn't you take one of those? And he says, you know what? I'm kind of kicking myself now. I probably should have shot one of those bucks. And one was he was a nice 3-year-old, could have been a 4-year-old. I was kind of too busy looking at him and trying to get it on camera that once I saw antlers and I saw his eyes light up to me that, hey, that could have been his trophy. And it was all about him and making sure that he was going to get sighted in and stuff. But he ended up deciding to pass. But he had fun. And my son said neither one of them had taken an animal yet. But they're having fun. And I think because I keep it light, I keep the encouragement. I can't wait for the day that they actually take their first animal. I'll probably tear up like a big baby, myself. But they see all of the white knuckle web shows and things like that, and they're very, very interested and they're very in tune with it. And they understand. I mean, they're 7 and 10, and they understand the difference between a mature deer and what's not a mature deer. If you're meat hunting, go ahead and try to take a doe. And I'm not saying that that's the way people have to hunt. That's just the way we look at it or the way I look at it. But I try to get them involved. And it seems like with kids that age, if they get their own camo that is theirs and they don't have to share it with their brother, that's like a big deal to them,
Johnny, we're going to have to call it. I just looked at the counter and we're bumping up against our stop time. So,
okay.
Great content, great thoughts, good stories. I love, how you shared about your sons. So let's just take about a minute here and give some shout outs and then we'll call it a show.
Cool. We can do that. Do you want me to just,
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. All right. So, I really appreciate you having me on here. Had a lot of fun talking with you. Have to give some shout outs to some companies that we work with, Tecumani Seed, Wicked Tree Gear, Vortex and Elite, Covert, Ozonics, Vapor Trail, myself with Sitka and Yeti, Kalo, Onyx, Huntera. There's so many good companies out there, and it's just quality gear. It helps us get the job done,
Well, I appreciate that. And on behalf of Whitetail Rendezvous Nation, which we're all across North America, thank you, John Mulligan, a.k.a. Johnny Utah, for sharing, not only about your gear coming from Wicked Tree, but also what it takes to be a steward, what it takes just to be a great dad, a good mentor, and a great friend to your kids.
That's it.
Make sure you listen to the next episode when we hear about hunting Pennsylvania like a pro from Justin McFadden.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.
Remember to text 33444 food plot for your free ebook